Welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. In today's episode, we're going to make this image of this flower. It's an orchid I shot at Phipps Conservatory in Pittsburgh, PA. And the image on the right is obviously the starting out point. The image on the left is the final product. Flowers are really my specialty, and I'd really like to share all my techniques with you. I leave nothing out in this video, so I think you're going to learn a lot, so stay tuned till the end. We're starting out with Lightroom, moving into Photoshop. We're going to use Topaz plugins, Luminar 4. We're going to use Adobe Camera Raw. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, the first thing we want to do is let's click the auto here and see what we can get. And that's not too bad. We have a nice histogram going here. I might want to pull my highlights back just a smidge more. And let's look at our shadows here. I do want to darken my shadows up here a little bit because I'm going to end up making this background very dark. This image is going to look totally different than what you see now. And so I'm going to deepen up those shadows, and I think that's going to help. I think the white point looks good, and maybe the black point. Maybe I'll bring the black point down just a little bit. And let's take a look at the temperature here. Don't want to go too yellow here. I want to keep those whites kind of pure. It's a little blue. Maybe somewhere right around in there. Let's take a look at our greens here. I think something like that looks pretty good. I'm not going to touch any of the texture or the clarity right now. I think the vibrance looks good. Let's take a look at our profile. Let's look at color. Let's look at vivid. And let's look at landscape. We can look at all these neutral. Actually, neutral might not be a bad way to go. There's faithful. There's Adobe Standard. I think I'm between Adobe Standard and neutral. I think I'm going to take Adobe Standard. I think that looks pretty good. And then just click on close here. And I'm not going to touch the tone curve here. I'm not going to mess with the HSL. Let's look at our detail. And I'm going to leave it typical 25% capture sharpening, no noise reduction. This was shot at ISO 500. So there's not a lot of noise in it, but I'll use some noise reduction from Topaz. Lens corrections, I always work with this. Remove chromatic aberrations and enable lens profile corrections. And not going to mess with transform or effects here. And I think I'm pretty good. That's a good starting point. Let me just take a look at the saturation here. That's at +2. I might just want to pull that back just a little bit. Maybe to about a -2 or a 3. I think a -2 looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and right click and edit in Photoshop. And here we are in Photoshop. Because this is only ISO 500, I think I can get away with going into Sharpen AI because there is noise reduction that works with Sharpen AI. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't see a need to go to denoise and Sharpen AI. So I'm going to duplicate my background layer, Command or Control J, and come to Filter and launch Sharpen AI. And I'm zoomed into 100% here. So let's click the split screen icon here and let's look at the before and the after. That's looking really nice. Maybe I'll just bump the sharpening up just a little bit. I find the auto works really well. Sometimes I will bump it up a little bit though, just to see if I can grab a little more sharpness. And this image was pretty sharp right out of the camera, so I don't think I need to use stabilize or focus on it. So I think it's looking pretty good. So again, let's move this split screen across here. So on the right is the after, actually on the left is the before. So yeah, look at that. It's nice and sharp and there's no noise in this image whatsoever. So let's just go ahead and apply this. And here we are in Photoshop. I believe this is an orchid and I shot it in a local conservatory in Pittsburgh, PA, the Phipps Conservatory. So they always have these little posts that hold the orchids up. So I'm going to try First, let me try the healing brush. Let's get a blank layer and type J for the healing brush and make our brush a little bit bigger. And let's just see if we can get rid of it with a healing brush. I'm kind of doubtful. It's not too bad, actually. That actually looks pretty good. I'm going to go with it, I think. And again, this healing brush works wonders. You just got to sometimes hit things a couple times and keep working with it. But working on this blank layer is a big tip because this is where you're working non-destructively. And also, let's zoom into this image here a little bit. And let's see if we can use the healing brush to get rid of this clip around here. Let's take it a piece at a time. Maybe I have to take these two because it keeps wanting to bring the other one in. Not bad. Let's see if I can get rid of this whole thing here. I'm really going crazy now. Man, you are out on a limb, Dave. But hey, you got to live dangerously sometimes. Got to try things. And I'll tell you what, this little bit right in here, this leaf, I don't like it. So I don't like it, it's got to go. And see how I'm just keep hitting it, keep hitting it. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Look at that. A little bit of shadows on here. This healing brush, I love it. Okay. And while I'm here, I might as well look at this, or might as well. I always say that, might as well. Might as well look at the leaves of this orchid here and clean them up. Let's get this thing looking pristine. Get it ready for the show. And here's some bad parts. Everything else on it looks pretty good. And I think it's looking really good. This is kind of ugly, but this is all going to go dark. Maybe I'll just run the healing brush on the top of it. You know, let's keep going crazy with this healing brush. See what we can do. So far, so good. Do I dare paint this whole thing? Try to get this all out in one fell swoop? I'm going to try it. I'm going for it. I'll probably fail, but you can't fault me for trying, right? I'll tell you. I think it did okay. Couple hits in here, and it's good to go. Maybe right around here, fix it. Isn't that amazing what that healing brush will do, though? It is really crazy. Here's a little light spot in here. Let's get rid of that. Let me zoom out before I keep going crazy. But let's click this layer right. Let's click layer 2 off and on. But look at that. Look at the job that healing brush did. I'm really happy with it, and I think it's believable. So I'm glad that worked out nicely. Let's keep going with this healing brush, okay? Like this little light area right in here. Let's work on that. Thing is amazing, it really is. This light area here. Any repeating patterns or anything, just go over them again and let that healing brush work its little bit of magic. Here's another light spot. Nice. Let's paint over this, see what it does. Let's run it for the test. Look at that. Beautiful. Maybe it'll turn this into leaves right here. Let's see what it does. Yep. Didn't. Let me hit that one more time. I might back that off. Wants to make a sharp edge here. I don't like that. I'm going to hit Command Z a few times and get that back. Okay, that did not work out for me so well, so we'll leave that alone. Pretty good. Maybe this light area right back in here. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Yeah. It's making leaves. And I'll tell you, I think it is believable. I'm going to let that go at that. And that's not bad right there. This light back here area, let me just, because remember, I'm going to darken this whole thing, but all it has to do is look believable. So just work with it. And that looks believable, and I'm really happy with that. Okay, if we're happy with that, let's pull it all together. So that's Shift, Option, Command, or Control E, pull it all together. Let's try the Object Selection tool in Photoshop 2020, the new one, which is, where is it? It's right here. And nested inside of here, you have different tools. The Magic Wand tool, the Quick Selection tool, and the Object Selection tool. So let's use the Object Selection tool. I'm using it in the lasso state, and what I'm going to do is draw a. I might have to do this in several passes. Just draw a selection around here, a loose selection. Like so. And we'll see how well that selects that. Boy, it does a pretty nice job. Now, if it misses spaces, all you need to do is, now let's zoom in. All you need to do is hold the Shift key down and then draw around the area that it missed, like that, and it will magically grab it. Now, to get rid of a section, like this section right in here, hold the Option key down and make a lasso around that section, like so, and it'll grab that. Isn't that really cool? Now, if we hold the Option key down, we'll erase this area around here from the selection. And I don't have to be that accurate because the tool is pretty smart. You see that? That's really nice. Did I miss anything else? Maybe right up in here, but that's dark. I don't think I have to worry about that. I want to add this section here, so I'll hold the Shift key down and let me just add this section all right in here. And you can just work at this a little bit at a time. Now let's move down. Let's add this leaf here. Hold the Shift key. Takes a little bit of time, but I'll tell you, it's pretty quick though. This is a pretty tough selection, to be honest with you. Let's just come like that. And there it's got that leaf. Let's grab this leaf, holding the Shift key down. Pretty impressed with this. Get all this in. Come around here. Take your time, get it right. Hold the Shift key down. Grab all this up in here. I'm taking it in bite-sized pieces. Okay, I can hold the Shift key down and grab all this right here. Hold the Shift key, grab this. All right, let's move down. And hold the Shift key and see if we can get the rest of this stem in here. And like that. Now let's zoom out. See if we missed anything. Well, I missed the tip of this guy right here. Let's hold the Shift and paint around it. And man, that's pretty cool. I think I got pretty much everything that I wanted to get here. Let's zoom back out. Now what we want to do is save this selection. So come up here to select and come down to save selection. Give it a name. We'll call it flower. And say OK. And that saves it as an alpha channel right here. So we can come back and reload it later. So I'm going to type Command D to deselect. Let's go ahead and duplicate the background layer. Command or Control J. And now we're going to come to filter. We're going to the blur. And we're going to go to lens blur. What we're going to do now is blur our background. And so what we want to do here is under depth map here, make sure your source is set to flower. And And then you can adjust your radius here. But you notice when I do that, I'm going to take that radius the whole way up. You notice how everything goes blurry, but the flower stays nice and in focus here. So that's really cool. So that's a cool way of blurring out the background. All right. And that's kind of what I want to do here. So maybe, do I want to blur it that much? Maybe not quite as much. Maybe right there. And let's just click OK. Let's go ahead and zoom into our flower and just let's look around it and make sure everything looks good on this, you know, when we selected it. Like here, it's a little messy right here. Look for areas that might need touched up. Maybe in here a little bit. Looks pretty good overall, but right here, let's see if we can fix this up right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a layer mask here. So on this layer 3 copy, so let's click layer mask and let's get, we want black paint. So get B for brush and make sure your paint is black. If it's not, type the X key. And then we can come here and just paint. See that? We can just paint that back in there. This little section right up in here. We can paint that back in and just look around. Like maybe here. Look, we can fix that right there. How about right here? That looks pretty good actually. Maybe around here. Just clean it up. Might look a little jaggedy right around here. Okay. And let's hit Command Z. And it's going to paint out there. X. Okay. Keep looking around. Maybe right here. Type my X key. I was painting in the wrong color. Got to be painting in black. Right around there. And see how that just cleans that right up. It brings back the flower that's underneath back into the scene. Maybe right here. Adds a little bit of that extra blur on the edge so that, because that edge wouldn't be crisp like that. Right around there. It just brings some of the original flower back in. And let's check it out real carefully here. Let's try it up here. Oh yeah, look, it was missing some of that up in there. Around there. That's looking good. But just that easy, we're able to get that background blurred. X. I'm going to just paint the opposite color here. Type X again, and just really examine this stuff here. That looks just a little bit funky. Let me type X again. And there we go. Just fix that a little bit there. I can clone that if I need to. Look it over real good. Now let's zoom out. And, okay, so this is our blur layer right here, so we can see the before and the after. So we got a little extra blur in there, which looks really nice. Now we just want to darken this background a little bit. So let's take advantage of the flower layer mask that we made, or the alpha channel right here when we saved the selection and named it flower, you remember? So make sure you find your channels palette, and mine's here, but yours might be by your layers. But just look for where your palette that says channels, and come down to the flower and option click it, or no, I'm sorry, command click it, and that loads it. And now come to your adjustment layers and click on curves. And right now it's the opposite of what we need, so we need to do a command or control I to invert it. And then what we want to do is pull down on the curve just to darken the background a little bit, just so that flower just stands out a little bit. You don't want to overdo this. And the next thing you need to do is click on your properties where you see this little mask icon. Click on that and bump this feathering up to somewhere around like 17%, somewhere in there. And let's just zoom in, and that'll just soften up the edges around where the adjustment takes. As you can, and then just look at your image very closely and make sure everything looks good, no jagged edges or anything. Now, upon further examination of this image, I see where I screwed up here. I don't know when I did this, but I messed it up, but I can fix this. All I need to do is come to the layer 1 right here. If I option click this layer, you can see that's the one of the originals after I think I added sharpening to it. Okay, so what I want to do is duplicate it, so Command or Control J, and here's a little shortcut. Shift Command or Control right bracket, and it drops it to the top of the layer stack. Put a hide all layer mask by holding the option key down and clicking on the layer mask icon. Puts a black mask in there. And you paint now with white paint. Make sure you have your brush, B for brush, and nice soft brush. And make sure you have white paint, and then just, my brush is a little too big, and then just paint that back in. That mistake, you can fix it. And you're going to make these kind of mistakes, and this is how you fix them. So we're just restoring the original flower right back in there. Just like that, and that is fixed. So let's zoom back out, and there we go. So here's the original image down here. Let's option click the background. Here's our original, and this is what we ended up with. So the original and the finished product here. Now we can also take this curves adjustment layer, or excuse me, yeah, the curves adjustment layer, and we can change this from normal down to luminosity, and that'll get rid of any color shifts in there, because usually when you pull down on a curve, you're going to induce a little bit more color. And again, here's the before and here's the after, and maybe we'll darken that, maybe just a little bit more. I think somewhere right around there looks pretty good. I thought we were done, but this is bugging me right here, this lightness, and some of the lightness back in here. So let's try to find a luminosity mask. A lights luminosity mask. It'll isolate those tones back there, like that one. Number 2, 3 is too narrow. So let's try 2, and let's put that on a curves adjustment. And let's put that in a multiply blend mode. See what that does. That does tone it down, and let's just pull down on the curve. Get that as dark as we can get it. Just want those highlights to come down. Something like that. Now we're going to put that in a group. So we can right click this and just say group from layers. Click OK. I'm not going to name it right now because this video is getting a little long. And let's put a layer mask on it. Let's option click the layer mask. Put a hide all layer mask on it. And now let's go B for brush. Make our brush a little bit bigger. And I'm going to paint with 100% opacity. And make sure I'm painting with white paint. And I just want to tone these highlighted areas. Even this right over in here. And here, all these highlights, I just want them to come down as much as I can, because I don't want our eyes being drawn to these highlights back here. Staying off the flower and the leaves of the flower. Something like that. That definitely helps. If we want to tone this down a little bit more, we could come to this Curves 2 layer, click on the Curves adjustment, and do a Command or Control J, and we can double that up. Okay, and the curve and the layer mask comes with it. And we can simply take the opacity, if that's too much, pull it the whole way off, and just build it up a little bit. Maybe somewhere right around in there. So let's click this Curves 2 copy off and on. And I think that really helps it. Finally, let's give this image a little crop. I had this in mind from the beginning, so let's get our crop tool here. We're going to keep the original aspect ratio here, and I like to straighten this flower up a little bit, so I'm going to hover over the edge here and see the little icon with the curve with the arrows, and let's just straighten that up. And I'm mainly looking at this portion of the stem right here. I want that to be nice and straight. And I'm going to crop in a little bit to the image and try to get rid of some of that over there too. Maybe something like that. Put this right in the center right here. Something like about there. Give it a little more headroom. Keep an even amount of space between these leaves on each side here, just for a little bit of symmetry. I don't want to come in too tight on it, but... And let me just nudge it. And make sure it's straight. Something like that, I think looks pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and accept that. I'm going to put on delete crop pixels. I'm going to uncheck that just in case I'm not happy with it, because I've been unhappy with a lot of things in this image I had to really work with. All right. So I think that looks pretty good. A couple little trouble spots now after the crop is right here and right here. So let's pull this all together. Shift Option Command Control E. And I'm going to put a blank layer above here. And I'm going to do my old painting trick. So I'm going to get B for brush. And I'm going to sample this color right here. I'm going to put my flow way low. So Shift 0 and 1. Again, sample right here and paint. Get rid of that. Sample this color. Paint there. And my flow's on 91. Sorry about that. Shift 0, 1. That puts my flow on 1. No big deal here. But over in here, let's just sample this color right in here. That low flow makes me have to really build that up. And it makes a nice believable result. And I'll make the brush a little bit bigger, and I'll grab some of this black and just put some of this black over this whole area right in here. And just slowly build that up. In here, just work it around there a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll tone this down a little bit. Just like that. And now finally, to finish it off, let's get a lasso tool. And we're going to paint a vignette around here. Something like that. And let's just use our tonic hyperaction and freehand vignette. We'll accept the Gaussian at 389 pixels. Click OK. And let's click the eyeball on. Here's the before and here's the after. Before and after. And if I want to increase that a little bit, just to keep those edges dark, which I like. I think it really helps. Something like that. Here's the before and here's the after. I think that looks good, and I think we are done. Well, we're finished. I hope you enjoyed this one. I plan on doing a lot more of these flower type tutorials. I want to show you all the techniques that I use. Hopefully it'll help you and inspire you. And also, please leave comments and questions below. I'd like to interact with you. If you enjoyed this video today, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And also, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and click the bell notification icon. This way, every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified about it. Well, thanks again for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And until next time, happy editing.